right, so last week I showed this clip. However, we can dive back into this clip and see that this time period is more than enough time for Warcry to reactivate. Now, Exclusive Ace did debunk this video I made, but he did a video about Warcry that states that Warcry takes 1.5 seconds to start regenerating health, but the regen is actually 1.466 seconds, which is slightly shorter than what Ace said in the video, and I'm sure he was just rounding up. I tested this frame by frame with a millisecond timer and discovered that it actually was a little bit less than 1.5. An investigator named Freund also tested this with macros that accurately match the fire rate of the bullets in the clip, and it shows that this other player's health has just enough time to regenerate to where he doesn't die. It leaves him at around 5 HP. When I take this HP bar and sync it up to the original clip, we can see that this guy clearly had Warcry active. There's a headshot, a body shot, another body shot, a wall bang, then 1.466 seconds goes by, he regenerates health, and then barely survives the next two pistol shots. So this was actually just the most insane COD timing ever conceived in the history of the game. But it does make perfect sense how he survived. If he started regenerating milliseconds later than he did, he would have died. So the margin for error was super small, which made it look like even after doing some math and frame-by-frame calculations, it was convincing that one hit marker didn't count for any damage. However, going frame by frame, taking into account that 1.466 seconds is the actual regeneration speed, it becomes clear that this guy popped Warcry before taking this engagement, and he just happened to be God's favorite. Again, Exclusive Ace originally debunked this, and then Freund followed up on it. I used Ace's 1.5 second timer for Warcry's health regeneration, but he probably rounded up for ease of explanation. It's actually 1.466 seconds. I've always said that if I'm wrong, I will admit it. My calculations were wrong last week, and the entire video therefore was a false claim. But does the trail stop cold there? Does this one clip actually just debunk the entire skill-based damage thing and prove that it's not there at all? Are we all just delusional? Can we all not feel something is just off about this game? Actually, I think this provides a clue that wasn't really present before. Firstly, let me name why I'm still suspicious. Number one reason, they haven't cleared up the rumors. They tried to, but for some reason attributed in-game nerfing to the matchmaking, which obviously is impossible. They asked themselves the question, does the matchmaking affect in-game parameters, and then said, no, the matchmaking doesn't do anything. The matchmaking just makes the matches. In no world does the matchmaking actually change anything within the game. It simply makes the matches. Second, they have patents about it. They have patents that detail the manipulation of in-game parameters, and they also have patents that detail the manipulation of matchmaking and using external factors to push microtransactions. And if just dodging the accusations is somehow bringing attention to the game or getting it in the spotlight, we can just look at Steam and see that even during a free-to-play weekend, the game is just bleeding players. These accusations and people complaining about the game are only driving players away, not bringing anyone back. In fact, in the time I've been gone, it looks like there's been about a 40% player drop, and Christmas did not help. I saw the game on sale for $20. So not addressing skill-based damage and other rumors about their matchmaking is definitely 100% hurting the game. If I knew it was definitely not rigged, I'd probably play a little bit more than just getting gameplay, because I know my bullets aren't being tampered with. But alas, they haven't cleared up the rumors, and that's all that they've ever had to do to shut down the quote-unquote conspiracy theorists. And look where we are. I made the claim in my old video that hit markers are server-sided, and that means that they only appear once you've dealt damage. The damage is on target, it relays itself to the server, confirms with the server that damage was actually dealt, and then gives the player a hit marker saying, yes, you dealt damage. But check out this one clip here. That's more than enough hit markers to kill, but the hit markers did not seem to be very accurate. So does this one occurrence prove that not all hit markers are created equal? Well, more evidence on that is just waiting to be found. But let's just chat about one other thing. If there's an AI active behind the scenes, and not just a computerized algorithm that measures skill levels against each other, or if somebody owns skins, that leads to some inferences. AI is not consistent like a computer. AI has a thought process behind it, so to speak. You can get different answers out of it and have it perform differently in different circumstances. An algorithm will be measurable and behave in relatively the same way, but an AI will be inconsistent and sometimes make mistakes in different decisions. We've seen this in Call of Duty's AI-generated artwork, we've seen it on ChatGPT, we've seen it on Google's Gemini, we've seen it all the time. AI makes mistakes. So if there's an AI running in the background of Call of Duty, guess what? It's bound to make goofy mistakes. We're gonna come back to that because I'll blow your mind. But take a look at this clip. This is before Blood Splatter became server-sided. So he snipes this guy guy and gets no hit marker, which means the server didn't register his shot, but he got a blood splatter, which means on his screen, he indeed hit the shot. Okay, maybe it's just desync. Maybe he just didn't hit the shot. But then it happens a second time. But both times we get a blood splatter. The weird part is that now that they've changed it, this clip would have been entirely different. There would have been no blood and no hit marker, which leaves us even more confused than we were before. Making the blood splatter server-sided is a very suspicious change to how the game works, especially with how Activision dodges any and all accusations about in-game manipulation in an oddly specific way. I find it interesting that skill-based damage started really trending in Modern Warfare 2 and it only picked up steam from there. And then in Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6, it is significantly harder to find occurrences of wonky hit markers, if at all. And the only weird thing about it is the blood splatter confirming the hit was on target. To simplify this, blood splatter was our only indication that let us know that a shot was on target and hit the target. But for one reason or another, damage and a hit marker weren't granted. But now it's been taken away, which means if we get blank hits like this ever again, even in this sniper clip, it's much more difficult to prove that the shot was, for example, on target, and even easier to just scream bad netcode and desync instead of addressing the obvious issues with how Activision handles skill-based damage accusations. Debunking this clip would have been so much easier had there been a little icon to indicate that Warcry was active, instead of leaving players scratching their heads when somebody can eat over 120 damage and still live to tell the tale. But now, Activision has made blank hits an actual thing, which makes our job as investigators a lot more difficult. Now, instead of shots verifiably hitting because of the blood indication, now we have no legitimate confirmation that shots even landed without being confirmed first by the server. And because their algorithms are server-sided, along with things running in the background, you can see where I'm going with this. It's incredibly easy to manipulate things when you have no signs of damage happening on the client side, which means things that bullet velocity and netcode can be more easily blamed by naysayers, despite skill-based damage never actually been denied once by Activision at all. Why I remain suspicious despite being wrong about this clip is because of how they handle the issue. There's a really good reason I'm still suspicious. We have Activision patenting software that is capable of manipulating gameplay in real time to balance encounters, they dodge the accusations, and they never clear up the rumors, even though it hurts the game. And now the final straw seems to be Activision removing the last bit of clarity we have about hit registration on our end. And now the only way we can see if a shot does damage is if on their end, the server decides to give us a hit. Those things stacked with each other offer a pretty solid case as to why you should be suspicious. There's no reason for these things to be happening. So now we have Activision supplying naysayers with an even easier way to excuse the atrocious hit registration as simply being poor netcode or desync, when in reality, it seems to have a direct correlation with skill level and or cosmetics purchased. Wouldn't you know it, this guy who got 2 blank sniper hit markers on him bought Black Cell. That could be a coincidence, or the game could have been supplying him a better experience because he spent $30 on a premium battle pass. But check this clip out too. I posted this as a short, but the fact that this player didn't die is one thing. I had him dead to rights. But the crazier part is that when you look at the kill cam, he is quite literally the biggest bot ever. This dude doesn't even know how to sprint, and he still lands enough shots to kill me. This engagement seems as rigged as they come, but the fact that this was even a contest is astounding to me. I mean, this guy was the Black Ops 6 equivalent of a default skin in Fortnite. But now, let's put our tinfoil hats on, shall we? Obviously, the system gets better every single year, and it keeps on getting better game after game. The matchmaking gets more engaging, the monetization gets more aggressive, and stick with me here, the in-game manipulation gets less detectable. After all, if the in-game manipulation was observable and obvious, especially nowadays, players would be on it like white on rice. It was more noticeable back in the day, with clips like this showing how shameless it was. And even if some clips actually have a decent explanation like my recent one, or even if ping is the best explanation we have, it's still an inexcusable explanation because having matchmaking this strict and this overbearing is sacrificing our connection and therefore ruining the in-game experience. So if you're really gonna blame it on bad ping, you might as well start blaming the matchmaking for how sucky the experience is. But the real tinfoil hat part about this is that Ricochet anti-cheat is an AI that runs in the background trying to detect cheaters and then manipulating their in-game experience once it zeroes in on them. So if they can use AI to manipulate cheaters' gameplay, that means that if something is manipulating our gameplay, I'd say there's a pretty good chance it's an AI designed to tailor the game to engage us, which means that it never runs the same way twice and probably makes real-time decisions on the fly in a server-sided setting so it's undetectable by the player or by investigation. Now, judging by Activision-owned patents, it doesn't only manipulate damage, spawns, hit reg, and player visibility visibility, but it can also change the geometry of the map and place objects, visible or invisible, on the map. Why would it do this, you ask? Well, how about placing an invisible object to block shots, to stifle movement getting stuck on something when you're being shot at, or to throw a cargo plane in front of your Semtex when you're about to get a kill? Oh, you don't get that last one? Take a look at this clip. With the information we get from Activision's patents and putting 2 and 2 together, reasonably believing that with the usage of AI to design skins, maps, and other things in-game, as well as having a job description that asks applicants to be good at working with generative AI, they'd use an AI to drive player engagement as well, and this AI would get increasingly better at its job as the years go on. After all, Activision wouldn't try to diffuse the rumors this way and then address the issues with the matchmaking if it wasn't hurting the game in some way, so the next logical step is to make this manipulation as undetectable as possible. This plane randomly spawning here could very well be the AI trying as fast as possible to place an object in front of the Semtex to prevent it from killing another player. And it happened to be this giant plane, which I'm pretty sure is part of a kill streak. Or we look at this clip again, where the whole game I was aiming pretty consistently well, and then the one encounter I have with this bad player, I die despite him only hitting 3 shots in the kill cam, and me apparently blanking a ton of bullets. There is quite obviously a correlation between him being a below average player and myself being an above average player. How in the world did he end up in my lobby even? It doesn't make any sense, and it seems like the game was compensating for his lack of skill, as it's seen in this patent right here. The question is, how can I prove that this was rigged? Well, I can't. And that's the genius behind the system. That's how the system has evolved. It all goes by observation, evidence, and then the feeling that something was just off. Activision wants us to back down and say that we were delusional. I was wrong about this clip, but I'm not wrong about this one. And even if you slow down the clip and see that I actually only blanked 1 shot, this one right here, and even then you could argue that I missed, even though it looks quite on target, the suspicious part about this clip is that I missed this guy by a pixel 5 times. We've talked about aim resist, where it feels like the game is forcing your aim off target on purpose and putting a bubble around somebody that makes them harder to hit. But what if instead of skill-based damage causing hit markers to do 0 damage, which is easily observable and far too obvious now that we're aware of it, what if this kind of aim resist, where an AI slightly shifts your reticle off target by a pixel or 2, is part of what is designed to screw us over when the game wants us to die? With how free this kill was, it makes no logical sense that I didn't secure it. 99% of the time, I have this guy dead to rights on pure mechanical skill alone. And you can say I'm coping all day long, but the skill correlation and the fact that I missed this guy by a pixel measurement, 5 out of 11 bullets, is incredibly suspicious. And I wouldn't be suspicious if Activision just squashed the manipulation rumor when it was presented, but they didn't. This player can't even shoot straight, and it's a miracle that he wins this engagement. The point is, the AI is becoming better at making rigged engagements less obvious and way less detectable. Because it can slightly shift your aim off target, it can give you blank bullets that now can be blamed on netcode because there's no blood splatter anymore, and literally place random solid objects in the way of your Semtex. Something weird is going on with this game, and it's glaringly obvious if you just open your eyes. Take a look at the spawns too. This game is designed for a 1KD experience. I mean, look at the maps. In some games, the shiftiest things happen as soon as you start climbing above a 1KD. You'll start having a harder time aiming. Your aim assist will turn off. You'll get spawn killed. People will spawn behind you. Your bullets don't register. The correlation between skill, performance, and how the game behaves is becoming more and more obvious, despite the match manipulation becoming that much harder to detect. I was wrong about this clip, but I'm far from wrong about there being something insanely weird about this game. I believe in-game manipulation is getting better and better, and less obvious with each passing week, because it's an AI that learns from every time it makes a mistake that makes the manipulation obvious. Alright, you can take your tinfoil hat off now. I'm Prime Pete. Be safe out there, and take it easy.